everybody, today we're going to work on the applique of the month for April 2026. It's called Butterfly Meadow. Applique of the month is a monthly subscription from Me Time Delivered, which is a Kimberbell company. They did provide me with the kit. Thank you so much, Kimberbell. This comes as doorstep delivery, which is what you'll see here, or a digital version. You can subscribe and just get the digital files. Applique of the month and all of the Me Time subscriptions will be linked below. You always get a preview of your subscription. You can decide if you want to skip that month or have it delivered. I already have all of my fabrics cut and prepped. I'm going to be working on the larger size today, which is the 8x12. You can make this in either a 5x7 or an 8x12. The little sticky note was there for me, so as I cut my fabrics, I didn't accidentally cut the wrong size. You want to have Fusible on the back of everything with a green heart. I actually did put Fusible on the back of both of these pink ones by mistake. It'll be fine. The instructions say to use a medium cutaway stabilizer. I actually use a sticky back Tearaway. If you watch my applique of the month videos from January and February, you'll see me try 3 different types of stabilizers. I use a wash away, a cutaway, and a tearaway, and I've determined the one that I like the best is sticky back Tearaway. The kit comes with all the fabrics and the felt. I used Kimberbell's Fusible backing. My stabilizer is this new Bro Thread sticky back Tearaway. It's called self-adhesive Tearaway. This is what I've got in my stash right now. The colors for today are given as glide colors. I've changed them to Sim Thread and Floriani. I don't have a lot of glide colors. We're also going to be using a water-soluble thread. Let me show you the colors. As I go through the project, I'll hold up each color and I'll call out the colors, and I'll also show you the color number. I'll give you a quick overview of the colors that I'm using today in case you have similar threads. The first 3 colors are baby blue, tawny, and azure, and I do my best to match with the glide color card. I have several projects lined up right now, so some of the colors may not be an exact match because I have threads pulled for other things. Next we have clover, tango, and aloe. Here are the colors for that. Anything with an S is a sim thread. My last 2 colors are Floriani, cornflower, and bark. There's those 2 threads, and I can also give you a quick screenshot of all the color numbers. Here's everything written down. I copied this on my little color printer, and it looks like I need to clean the print heads or get another cartridge, so don't pay attention to the colors, but here's all of the numbers that I just showed you in case you're working with similar threads. This is what I'm using for the water soluble thread. I've used this on a couple of different projects. Vanish Light by Superior Threads. I keep it separate with its own little bobbin, and I did mark the bobbin with a W for water soluble just in case. It looks like white thread. I'm going to load my sticky back Tearaway into my 8x12 hoop. If you're using a sticky back Tearaway and you've never worked with it before, it's got a papery side and a cloth side. It's going to go in your hoop paper side up. I'm just going to make a little bit of noise, and it can be a little bit challenging to hoop because it doesn't lay nice and soft and flat like fabric. So you want to make sure that your hoop is really loosened, and you want to get this in with paper side up, and then we're going to tighten the hoop, and I'll show you how to take away the paper. I've got that in and tightened. Grab a pair of scissors or seam ripper, something that's sharp, and you're just going to scratch the paper, and then you'll peel the paper up and off. Sometimes it comes off really nice and all in one piece. Other times it's a bit of a challenge. If you poke a hole in the stabilizer as you're peeling it off, put some paper tape underneath it and you'll be fine. You can keep going. I almost always poke a hole in the corner because I have trouble getting the paper up, and I use my scissors to get it up, so paper tape underneath. Now it's good. I've got my runner ready to go. I starched it and I ironed it. I didn't wash it when I starched it. It shrank, so I'm not worried about it shrinking if I have to wash it later. The runner comes with the trim attached. Just make sure that you either pre-wash it, or if you're a starcher like I am, starch it, let it dry, it'll shrink, press it, get out all the wrinkles, and you're ready to go. I'm on a Baby Lock Meridian. My files are on USB. I have my instructions next to me on a folding metal book stand. Information on that will be linked below. I've got my Sippin' on Sunshine needle minder here. This is magnetic, goes great with the folding metal book stand. We'll be working on Sippin' on Sunshine and the new Bella box. There's a lot going on. Let's go ahead and bring up our file. It's the Butterfly Meadow Applique of the month. We're going to start with the Crosshairs. Go ahead and get that on your machine, get that loaded, put a neutral thread on your machine. This is the type of needle that's on my machine today. It's a Schmetz Super Non-Stick 8012. I use these, and then I also use regular embroidery needles. The non-stick needle happens to be on my machine today. I'm going to go ahead and keep working with that. Let's stitch out our crosshairs. Next, we need to fold our runner and get it centered on our crosshair. It tells you to fold the blank in half lengthwise, folding up 5 3/4 inches for the 8x12 or 4 inches for the 5x7. So I'm going to be folding 5 3/4 inches. Let's go ahead and fold our runner, right sides together. I've actually folded it a couple times already. The fold lines on this fabric do not show very well. You may need to get some pins to help keep track of everything. Now I'm doing the 8x12 design, so I need to come up 5 3/4 inches from the bottom, excluding the trim. You don't measure from the very bottom, you measure from the top of the trim. Got a 6.5 by 12.5 inch ruler. I'm going to find 5, 6, 5.5, 5 3/4. Going to line up the 5 3/4 with the top of the trim, and then I'm going to look here and make sure everything is straight. I'm going to fold it over this way and I'm going to finger press, but again, it's really hard to see. You might want to pin it or make a mark. I'm going to slide the ruler out, make sure it's pressed. You just need to know where that center is. It's going to help you get that into your hoop. When you look at the picture, you see the bottom of the design lines up with the trim. When it's on the embroidery machine, it's going to stitch out like this. So when we're putting our runner blank into our hoop, the extra needs to hang off to the left and our trim is going to be on the right. Here's my hoop with the crosshairs. I'll put my crosshairs on a couple lines on my mat. Hopefully you can see those. Here's my runner. It's all nice and folded. Here's all the extra. So I know my extra is going to go this direction. And depending on how you have it folded is going to depend which grid you use. I see in the instructions that they're using this grid here, but the way I have it folded, here's my trim here, here's my corner here. I'm going to line it up like this. My extra is going to go off to the side. I'm making sure my fold lines up with that crosshair. And then this fold here is going to line up with this part of the crosshair, like that. And I want to make sure it stays nice and straight, so I'm just going to take an extra minute. Go ahead and flatten that. I can actually feel my crosshair underneath. My trim is hanging off this side, so that's your right side of your hoop. I know it's in the right spot. I'm going to take the extra and roll it up and put some clips on it. This is a big reason why I like to use the sticky back with the applique of the month, because the next step is to stitch out a basting box. If you use sticky back, you don't have to stitch the basting box, and I don't have to worry that as I carry this from my table to my machine that it's going to slide. I will actually put some extra tape on it before I pick it up. So you grab your Kimberbell paper tape. I just want to make sure it stays secure. Now we're ready to go over to the machine. Let's go ahead and bring up our design file. Again, I'm working with the 8x12. If you're doing the 5x7, it's going to look the same. It's just going to be a little bit smaller. You'll see the first thing that wants to stitch out is the basting line. If you're using the cutaway stabilizer, you want to go ahead and stitch that out. It says to stitch it in a visible thread. You'll be removing that later. I don't need the basting line because I'm using a sticky back stabilizer, so I'm going to skip that step. I have a needle minus plus. When you use the double down or the double up, it skips a step. So I'm going to use that. Hit OK. We're ready to start with the leaves. If you look at the instructions, it says to change the top and the bottom thread to a water-soluble thread. I have my water-soluble thread on the top and in the bobbin. It says to stitch the leaves A placement line. Once your placement lines have stitched out, you want to cover the placement lines with the felt. I would go ahead and add some tape to hold that in place, and then we're going to stitch the tack down, and we're still doing that with the water-soluble top thread and bobbin thread. I think I've got my placement lines covered. It's kind of hard to see. I've got that really thin water-soluble thread, and it's on a neutral fabric. We're going to stitch out the tack down lines, and then we're going to trim, and it says it's a raw edge applique. I've stitched the tack down on these. My embroidery machine sits on an antique wooden table, so I'm able to pop up part of the table and set things down to trim. I tend to use these two scissors when I do my trimming, the double curved applique or the snips. Let's see what's going to be easiest for the felt. I think it might be the double curve applique. I think the felt might be a little thick for the snips. That's working okay. Either one. I'd say whichever one you're most comfortable using. They both cut through the felt really well. You can always cut off larger pieces and save them to use for other projects. While you have this off and you're doing your trimming, get your water-soluble bobbin out of your machine. Put your regular bobbin back in for the next step. Once you've got these trimmed, you want to put the color aloe on your machine and make sure you've got your regular bobbin thread back on your machine. You do not want water-soluble bobbin thread. We're going to stitch out the next two steps with this thread. The leaves and stems A detail, and then the leaves and stems B fills detail. I'm going to go ahead and run those two steps together since it's the same color. Those two steps are stitched out. We're going to switch to the color Clover, and we're going to stitch out the stems C fills. Next, we're going to switch to the color Cornflower. We're going to stitch out the flower 3 placement line. Grab your flower 3 fabric, make sure to cover the placement lines, add a piece of tape, and then we'll stitch the tack down. The tack down line has stitched. You want to trim everything outside of the tack down line. Once you have that trimmed, you're going to switch to baby blue. We're going to stitch out the flower 4 placement line, and then we'll place our flower 4 fabric and stitch the tack down. Once that's tacked down, you have to trim everything outside the tack down line. Don't be too worried about the little tight spots. Just do the best you can, because after we've got all of our fabrics tacked down, we're going to go back and do the detail stitching. Once you've got that trimmed, you want to switch to the color Tango. We're going to stitch out the flower 5 placement line. Grab your flower 5 fabric, make sure to cover the placement line, and then stitch the tack down. Flower 5 is tacked down, but the next flower, flower 1, uses the same color thread and the same fabric. So before I take this off the trim, I'm going to do flower 1, and then I can trim them both at the same time. They're far enough away from each other so nothing is overlapping. You can do that. It'll save you a little bit of time. Let's stitch the placement line for flower 1. That's my flower 1 placement line. I'm going to cover it with the fabric, tack that down, and then once that's tacked down, I can trim both flower 5 and flower 1 at the same time. I have everything trimmed. We're going to switch to the color Cornflower, and we're going to stitch the flower 3 satin outline. You want to check your bobbin. We're going to go through all of the stitch outs, so you want to be sure you've got a full bobbin. We're going to start with the Cornflower and the flower 3 satin outline. Once your flower 3 satin outline has stitched out, leave the same color on your machine. We're going to stitch the flower 3 buds fill. Next is the color Tango. We're going to stitch out the flower 1 decorative outline and fill and the flower 5 decorative outline. 2 steps on your machine, but I'll run them together for the video. Next is the color Aloe. We're going to stitch out the flower 1 base fill right here. Next, we're going to switch to baby blue. We're going to stitch the flower 4 satin outline, and then after that we stitch out the flower 2 petals fill. I believe that's going to be right here, and then we're going to move on to the lower butterfly wings. That's all in baby blue. I'll go ahead and run those steps together for the video. They're separate steps on your machine. Next, we're going to switch to azure. We're going to stitch out the upper butterfly wings and the flower center fill for flower number 5 back there. We're going to switch to the color bark. We're going to stitch out the butterfly body detail and fill, and then flower 2 and 4 center fill. A couple of steps on the machine. I'll go ahead and run them together. Our last color is the color called Tawny, and we're going to stitch out the flower 3 center fill. This is one of the colors that I had a better match for with something else, but it's sitting with another project. So rather than pull it from that project, I took the next closest match, something that I think is going to look good. Holding it on the yellow, it's going to look just fine. Let's stitch out that center fill. That's the last step at the machine. We can take our hoop over to our table. We're going to remove our stabilizer and then dissolve the water-soluble thread. I'm at the table. I want to get this out of my hoop, so I need to remove any tape that I have, and then we're going to peel away the backing. I'm working with the sticky back Tearaway, so I do not have to remove the basting line. I just need to get rid of the stabilizer. And this does tear away. All you have to do is tear and just go around the edges. And you can decide if you want to get in here and pull this out. It's papery, so if you want to pull it out, or if you see it from the front, you want to take it out, especially if you think you're going to wash your runner. If you're not going to wash your runner, you can leave as much as you want. I'm going to go ahead and get this removed. As you're removing your stabilizer, you're going to hit your crosshairs. So if you're using a cutaway, you'll come across those crosshairs. Tearaway or wash away, same thing. You're going to run into the crosshairs. Also, remember, we're going to get rid of the wash away thread here and here. So we'll probably have to go back and remove a little bit more of the stabilizer. I've got both sides done, trimmed away. What didn't tear away easily, you'll see there's still some stabilizer by the leaves. This is where the water-soluble thread is. One thing I noticed, if you don't have water-soluble thread, these stitches are further apart than regular stitches. They're almost like a small basting stitch. They wouldn't be too hard to trim away. Now, removing water-soluble thread, you can use a Q-tip. I've got a sponge brush here. I have a little tray of water over to the side. I should have brought a towel to put underneath. I usually end up having to take it to the sink, but I wanted to show what you can do. You can get the water right on the thread, and it should come up. I can see the green felt through it. Yeah, it's coming up pretty easy. I'm going to go to the front. You see that? Because there's also water-soluble top thread. We did a water-soluble in the bobbin and a water-soluble in the top. What that's doing as the thread dissolves is it's releasing the felt leaves. So your leaves are going to be sticking up off your runner. They're held down by the stem in the middle. It's definitely a new technique. Usually it's just water-soluble top or water-soluble bobbin, not both. You do still have some of the stabilizer here, Now it's easier to remove. That's why I didn't worry about getting it off. I knew once that the water-soluble threads came out, I'd be able to pull that off. So there's one leaf. That leaf is done. I need to go through and get all the water-soluble off. You don't want to sit here and do each individual leaf. Just take it to the sink. I'd put a bowl in the sink and then stick this in it, because if it gets sticky or goopy, you don't want that going down your pipes. You can dump it outside in the dirt, water a plant, something like that, but you need to get all the water soluble thread off. What I'm going to do is probably soak mine in a bowl and then lay this out to dry. I'm in Arizona. It's almost 90 degrees out and it's sunny. This is going to dry in no time. So I'll be back. I'll show you what all the leaves look like after the water soluble thread is removed. Everything is dry. Are you ready for the big reveal? Da, 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 da. There you go. It came out great. Love it. When you press this after it's dry, use a pressing cloth because of the felt. Now these all lift up. We did that with the water soluble thread, both top and bobbin. So they actually lift up off the runner. You could do lots of things with that. Flower petals, leaves, butterfly wings, all sorts of fun stuff. Here's one side of the runner. The other side is the same. Looks great. Did the 8x12. Very long stitch outs for this one. Have another project handy. I'm working on several other things right now for the channel. I was prepping, pulling threads, getting stuff ready. Even had to take the dogs out a few times. The long stitch outs here, the yellow, and then the blue. Those are very long stitch outs. The green's not too bad. Definitely have something else handy. Coming up, we have our Cottage Garden Bella box. See, I've already got stuff printed. I'm pulling stuff, prepping for this. I have an unboxing video for this. I'll make sure that's linked below. I show you everything that comes in the box. We look at all the projects and all the bonus designs. We're also going to be working on Sippin' on Sunshine. The next video that's going to come out is going to show how to cut the fabric, how I organize everything, adding Fusible. It's taking me a little bit of time to get the setup right for that. I want to be sure everyone can see everything, so please stay tuned for that. Thank you for your patience, and we're going to work through the entire quilt together. I also have a project coming for the Sippin' Labels applique. You can see I've started pulling my fabric for the appliques. We're going to be using all of these designs in one fun project. When all of that gets done, I also have on deck the mini wall hangings. I really want to do this one, the Oh So Happy, and some of the other designs. This one's really nice. The Family is Forever. These were just on deal of the week. I have this printed out and ready to go. I also have printed out the pieced nesting bowls. This is an older Hoop Studio project. You can buy this now as a digital download. This is August 2024, and then we'll also continue to work on all of the home sewn mini quilts. We've already made April and May. When we get into the month of May, we'll work on the next one for June. I'm doing one a month for these. All of these projects have playlists. I have a playlist for the home sewn. I have playlists for Hoop Studio, Applique of the month, anything that's a one-off project, something like this. Things like the Betsy bag, I have a video for that. I have a machine embroidery playlist. It's really easy to find everything on my channel. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. I hope you've enjoyed stitching out the applique of the month with me. I'll be back next month with the next one. See you next time!